Hello, and welcome to my, as of now, unnamed vlog series. I am Joseph Thorin, and I have a blog called Musings that covers League of Legends esports. There's a link in the description. First of all, funny story, this is not the first time I've recorded this. This is actually the second time. My microphone, the first time, was not plugged in all the way, so it was a very muffled half an hour of me talking. The only solace I can take from this is that I got a dress rehearsal for this run, so hopefully this will be a little bit cleaner. Preface: apologize for the buts and the ums and the likes. This is my first foray into vlogging, and I have very little experience doing anything like this, so please go easy on me. Anyway, anyone who reads my blog, you might be wondering, why am I creating videos instead of writing articles? Well, here's the reason. Things for me have been very busy lately. I work full time. I just finished volunteering on a political campaign, and I volunteer at other places like my church and stuff like that. So it's hard for me to find the time to sit down after I get off work for a few hours to write, rewrite, edit, excuse me, and source a blog post twice a week. So I decided I want to keep doing content, obviously. I want to put something out on a weekly basis for the times that I'm unable to post articles. So I figured, hey, what the hell? I could take a half an hour of my day, an hour of my day, edit, record, edit, and do this. So I like making content. I love talking about the League of Legends esports community and the scene and the news and everything crazy that's going on. So I figured this is my best avenue to do so while still staying in touch with the people who regularly read my blog. So by the way, I'm not stopping. I'm not going to stop writing or anything like that. This isn't going to become the new norm. I am going to do this on a weekly basis, but I am still writing, and I have one or two posts coming this weekend, hopefully two, but that might be a little bit too ambitious for me, considering what might be going on this weekend. Anyway, no intentions to stop writing. Gonna do this once a week is the bottom line. I'm going to focus on more big picture things. Not really any analysis or anything like that. I don't have the level of game knowledge that some other shows do. I'm the furthest thing from Monte Cristo that you could possibly be, so I'm going to leave it to him and the other great shows that do analysis out there to take that over. Well, not take it over, but just continue doing it because they do an awesome job. And if you don't watch like Into the Rift or First Blood or China Talk or Summoning Insight, I strongly encourage you to go out and watch all of them. It's great content and it's amazing for our scene that we're able to have almost daily League of Legends related talk shows and analysis shows. It's a really cool thing. The other thing I plan to do with this is if I have articles that I want to talk a little bit more about or just provide some extra context for, then excuse me, I will I'll try and do that here. I'll try and put videos out for articles that I feel might be a little bit more. I don't know if I wasn't able to articulate my points as clearly as I wanted to, or if it's like another rules analysis and some of those things are better explained with my voice and not with my typing. So, by the way, in any articles slash like shows I refer to, I will try my best to link them in the description. I want these writers to get the credit that they deserve for their very hard and very awesome work. So I will try my damnedest to make sure that like any article I talk about is in the description, so you can pause the video if you haven't read the article, read it, and come back, and that way you have the context that you need to understand the full story of what I'm talking about. So today, a couple things I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about CLG, their tryouts, and Scarra as their new coach. I want to talk about the chaos, the chaos brewing in Europe with Fnatic and Alliance, of course, with their transfer rumors and the Fnatic news that Richard Lewis broke today on the Daily Dot. I would love to. I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about that. I'm going to talk a little bit about IEM. Guys, the Unicorns of Love thing, well, I'll table that for later, but not as big of a deal as people are making it out to be. And if I have time, I sort of set like a half an hour time limit for myself. If I have time, then I will talk about a little bit about the NA expansion tournament, but I might just table that for a future show when the tournament itself is closer to actually happening. So, CLG. Let me preface this. I am a CLG fan. Hope that any TSM fans out there don't immediately hate me for admitting that, but I figure, hey, I might as well let my allegiance be known before I start talking about the team. Anyway, Scarra is their new coach, as everyone pretty much knows. That move in itself, I'm not sure how it's going to work out. I think that the fact that he's living in the house is huge. I think that that was probably the biggest difficulty, and Monte Cristo said this, that he had and able to control the situation at CLG, is that he was not there. So, and I mean, there's no professional sports team in any traditional sport, hockey, baseball, soccer, football, basketball, whatever, where a coach is doing it remotely. I mean, Phil Jackson talked about doing that with the Knicks, or there are rumors that he talked about doing that with the Knicks, like part-time coach, like only coaches his home games, but like it was so incredulous that like nobody took it seriously. It's a very difficult. I can imagine it must have been very difficult to sort of watch that situation crumble in front of you without having the power to be able to like step in and stop it. Anyway, Scarra moving into the house I think is huge. It's hard to judge him as a coach yet because he only coached Dignitas for one split. So, and they sort of had a similar thing happen to them that CLG did. I mean, obviously it wasn't to the same degree. I mean, they didn't end up in the promotion relegation tournament, but they did sort of fall apart towards the end of the split. And granted, they had a very much superior playoff performance to CLG, but it's sort of hard to judge his ability to coach a team just based off of one split. I think that this split with CLG will say a lot about Scarra and his coaching acumen. So in his vlog that they announced he was the new coach. Excuse me. That he announced he was the new coach. He talked about how they were having tryouts for mid lane and jungle, and as we all know, that Dexter left the team a couple weeks ago. Not that surprising. Uh, Obviously, the fact that they are not holding tryouts for top lane means that Seraph is out the door, and this has pretty much been rumored for weeks now. And Richard Lewis, I mean, with the record he's had thus far on calling transfers, I would say it's a 99% probability that Seraph was not coming back, especially considering that like Zion Spartan to CLG is like the worst kept secret in NA right now. I mean, Reddit detectives have seen him at the house on stream, have apparently heard him. So CLG Zion Spartan, I think we can pretty much book that as unofficially official, like they were talking about on First Blood last night. I think that they're just waiting for Riot to respond to the tapping up or poaching allegations that have been leveled at CLG over Zion Spartan and Scarra. Excuse me. Link. I think Link is the most important player to talk about when it comes to CLG right now. I mean, he's been heavily scrutinized lately, and he was heavily scrutinized here at the end of the split for wildly inconsistent play. If you haven't seen Thorin's thoughts, the video he posted about Link, I highly recommend you watch it. I'll put a link in the description. He made a lot of very good points, and I very much respect his opinion about Link being unable to live up to the hype that he was given when he came to CLG, and unable to become that true second carry that they needed after Doublelift. I think that Link's problem is inconsistency. It's not his skill. He is clearly a very skilled player. He has a wide champion pool, and and by all accounts, he's a very mechanically sound player. I mean, even very mechanically good, I think, is a general consensus amongst NA players. It's just that he's never been able to put all of his tools together. I sort of liken him. I'm a Chicago guy, Chicago Bears fan. I sort of look at Link and see him as the NALCS version of Jay Cutler. Very similar situations. They have all the tools they need to succeed, physical, mental tools they need to succeed, but they've never been able to put it together in a consistent manner in the regular season and the playoffs. It's never come together for either of them. I will say I highly doubt Link is not that Link is not going to be on CLG next split. I think I would put money on the fact that Link is playing mid lane for CLG in the spring. The reason why I think that is because Aphromoo and Doublelift and Link, from by all accounts, are very close with one another, and it's clear if you watch Chasing the Cup or if you listen to their interviews with Travis or if you listen to their interviews with the Riot pregame interviews that CLG has an immense amount of respect for Cloud9. Now, Cloud9's success has been predicated on two factors mainly, outside the Rift factors. I will say I should make a caveat outside the Rift factors. Zero roster turnover since they came to the LCS. They have not changed a single player. Second, it seems like they're all very close friends. And whether or not you actually have to be friends to succeed in a League of Legends team, like I don't know. I've never played a professional esport. Like I've never, I imagine it would help. I can't say, I can't sit here and say that it would hurt. But obviously, I mean, you don't need to be friends with your teammates in other traditional sports. But I don't know. Maybe with certain players in League of Legends, it's different. And I mean, to be perfectly honest, it's understandable considering how young most of these players are. I don't think there's a player in the NALCS who's older than like 24 or 23. I don't. They're very young. They don't have like 100% emotional maturity yet. So I think that being friends with one another, I mean, I think it benefits players in these situations, especially because they live together. Like, holy moly! Like if I were in a League of Legends team with my roommates my senior year of undergraduate, like it would have gotten really crazy because of the amount of stress we would have been under, and I can't imagine that has to be a very difficult situation to be in a team house with players you don't like. It's like having a shitty roommate that you have to go to work with every day. Like that would be not a very ideal situation. So it makes sense to me that CLG might be looking to mimic the Cloud9 model and look for players that they are friends with. By all accounts, Zion Spartan is a very affable individual, and I've never read a bad thing about him. Apparently, he's a stand-up guy, so maybe they're already very close friends with him, and they think he would be a good fit for their team. The jungle, however, bit of a different issue. They have been trying out North American junglers, to my knowledge. I think ThinkHard, xSmithy, and Liquid and Nori have all tried out, according to our intrepid Reddit detectives. Um, the most intriguing rumor about CLG's future jungler, however, was on First Blood last night when Richard Lewis was talking about Spirit of Samsung Blue potentially moving to North America and possibly becoming a member of CLG. Let's take this with a grain of salt. I know that Richard has been very accurate with his transfer rumors, but he even stressed the fact that this is a rumor, like a rumor, not like something he had heard from us. Like, well, maybe he had. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch the VOD, but I think we should take this with a grain of salt. I think it would be a huge upgrade. I mean, and for those of you who might be saying, "Oh no, like what happened with Seraph and like the Korean import issue, like and what Hotshot said about like Koreans not being plug and play," like let's be honest here. Seraph I think has a high skill ceiling, but Spirit is a world-class jungler. I mean, other than their semifinal at Worlds against Samsung White, Samsung Blue played as well as you could this year. I mean, their performance in OGN was, I mean, something to behold at times. They just found ways to win games, and that they should not, they had no business winning. Um, Spirit would be a huge upgrade. I mean, obviously the communication would be a huge issue, especially with jungle position. I mean, that is a position that you need to be able to communicate information to your teammates efficiently and quickly. So how effective such a roster move would be, I don't know. How likely it is to happen, I mean, who knows? There's so many crazy rumors at this point that it's hard to know what's true and what isn't. It's a lot like the. I'll get to this later. I'm gonna make this analogy again, but it's a lot like European football's silly season. It's madness. Um, it'll be interesting to see what CLG does. I think they have the most question marks out of any of the North American teams coming into the next split because I mean Link, Aphromoo, and Doublelift are all very skilled players, but I mean maybe other than Aphromoo, I mean how do I phrase this? But like I said, Link has shown consistency issues. Aphromoo, very skilled. Doublelift, very skilled. But how they come, you could put five skilled to get players together. That doesn't mean they're going to make a good team. I mean, look at the Miami Heat for the first like 2 years they played together when they got LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. They couldn't put it together. Or like an even better example is the Lakers when they got Steve Nash, Dwight Howard, and Kobe Bryant. Like everyone said, oh, they're just going to tear up the Western Conference. They're all so good, but I mean, we all know how that turned out. Like they did not mesh well together. So it's clear from everything that I've read and heard that those three are very close to one another. And if they find two other players that fit their personalities and that they're already friends with, perhaps they could make it work. But there's a lot of question marks over CLG. And as a fan of them, I'm I don't know how to phrase it. I'm trepidatious, I guess would be the best word, about the future of that organization, especially after what we saw during the promotion relegation tournament. That was a little bit frightening as a CLG fan. Excuse me for a second. Sorry, I needed a little bit of a lubrication there for a moment. Throat was getting dry since this is the second time I've done this. All right, Fnatic. Now here's a story. Jesus, what is happening to this team? They were like the model of stability for the European LCS for like the last three splits, and now all of a sudden, Richard Lewis is reporting, Daily Dot article, like I said before, link in the description, that xPeke wants out, that he wants to form his own team with Soaz and Cyanide. And for me, I mean, xPeke is Fnatic. Like, he is the face of this franchise. When you think of Fnatic, you think xPeke. Like, it's the first player that comes to mind for me, and probably for most other, excuse me, sorry, for most other League of Legends fans. I mean, there must be, and from Richard Lewis's article, he talks about how the uncertainty over Reckless is sort of casting a pall over the rest of the team, and they're getting frustrated. And xPeke wants to create his own team with Soaz and Cyanide, and it's a there. And this is what I wanted to say about the. This is the analogy I wanted to make between European football and League of Legends. Something I've been known to do from time to time is that when a player, you hear this all the time, every summer during the transfer window, that players on teams become unsettled when one of their teammates is the subject of massive amounts of transfer rumors. It's endemic. Like it makes them question their owners, it makes them question their board of directors, it makes them question their manager, it makes them question their director of football, whoever. Like it's unsettling. And I see the same thing happening in League of Legends. Like when you have that much uncertainty over your roster, it makes you question what the direction your team is heading into. And I would not be surprised if this is the situation that Peke finds himself in right now. And I mean, it'll be sad to see him leave Fnatic, a team that like he's been with since season one. It'll be, I mean, the nostalgic part of me, it'll be weird to see him in another uniform. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he is like, it's like when Peyton Manning left Indianapolis. Like you never thought you'd see him play for another team, but you did. I'm not saying that xPeke is the Peyton Manning of League of Legends. I'm just saying that the comparison, the him being the icon of that franchise is similar in the same way. I don't know, man. This is a crazy situation, and I just like for one, I just want this alliance reckless thing. I want it taken care of. I want to know if it's happening or not because I am so tired of hearing about it at this point. I mean, don't get me wrong. The idea of reckless and reckless, yeah, excuse me, reckless and Crepo apparently is the new rumor going to alliance. It's very intriguing. I think that if they could build the right synergy, that would be an incredibly skilled team. But I just want to know at this point. I think everybody wants to just know what's happening in that situation. It's dragged on for so long. And actually, the funny thing about this article that Richard Lewis wrote is that, hold on, let me pull the quote up. Uh, Here it is. Larson's contract contained a $15,000 buyout option, but Fnatic has disputed whether that option was valid in the contract's current form and had refused to budge on a transfer. Now the reason I'm smiling right now is because I went to law school, and I would love, I mean, this is just like a personal quirk. I would love to get my eyes on this contract. I know contract law pretty well. And I mean, if you've read my blog, you know, like rules analysis, contract type of stuff, like anything legal related when it comes to the legal agency community. That, I mean, that's the type of thing I'm like weirdly interested in. So like, just, I mean, it's just funny that that's like a sticking point in his move to Alliance is that there's an issue with the interpretation of his contract. And I mean, just as a legal nerd, I would I would just love to see that contract and just read it for myself. But that was just me ranting about nerd stuff. So anyway, um, yeah, I imagine this is like a very difficult situation for Peke and the other senior members of Fnatic, and I can understand their uncertainty over their management's handling of the reckless situation because it hasn't looked good. It hasn't looked good for any party involved. It's just too much uncertainty, and like I said, that can be unsettling for players. So it's not surprising that they're thinking about striking out on their own. Um, I don't know how the rules would like how if Fnatic would be able if they own the spot to LCS if they lose three of their players. Like I got to go back over the. It's been a while since I read the LCS rules, so forgive me if I'm not as up to date on that as I normally am. I typically pride myself on my knowledge of the rule book, but in this case, I'm a little bit out of date. I haven't had the opportunity to read it in a while, so it'll be interesting. I mean, I can't really see. I know it says that he's open, that xPeke is open to coming to North America. I just don't see that happening. Just a, I don't know. It's just a gut feeling. I have no, obviously I'm very much not in the know when it comes to the League of Legends esports community. I just talk and write about things that I find interesting, and it would be interesting to see him in NA. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know where he would end up on what team. Um, it's going to be crazy. I think the next few days and the next couple weeks, we're going to see it's going to be a flurry of activity, especially for Alliance because I mean, the IEM San Jose is 4 weeks from now, and they have to get a roster together, and because they need time to practice. I mean, I'm sure after the Kaboom incident that they're going to want to come to San Jose and stomp people. So if they're going to try and do that, they need to get a team together. So not only is it what I want to see, I want to see the situation resolved, but I obviously it's in Alliance's best interest to get their ducks in a row when it comes to their roster. Speaking of IEM, guys, take a deep breath and relax. The Unicorns of Love situation, them getting voted in, it's like when you write in like Super Mario on a like student council election. Like it's a funny name and the other options don't have complete rosters. Like it's when you leave something like this to the fans and one of the options is Unicorns of Love, like come on guys, like that was obviously going to get voted in. Like I don't think that was a question. Like I almost voted for them just for like the novelty of it. I know that they're probably not going to perform very well and like that's not the best for the event. And it is I guess a little troll of the community to vote them in. But you know what? Damn, they got voted in, so this is their Unicorns of Love opportunity to prove what they're about and to get some experience before the spring split. Because I mean, I've heard nothing about Battle of the Atlantic or any interregional off-season cup, which I mean I've personally advocated for. No news about anything like that. I think that IEM is our only North American event or European event from now, major event besides the expansion tournaments from now until the start of the spring split. So I mean, good for them. I think this experience could be huge for Unicorns of Love, and I think it'll give them a better footing in the LCS and experience against LCS caliber opponents in high pressure situation over the other expansion tournament teams. And I think that's going to be huge. I think this with the expansion of the LCS in Europe and NA, it's going to be interesting to see how these expansion tournament teams do. So, uh, now for the NA vote, I am I'm 50% surprised that Cloud9 got voted in, and I'm 50% surprised that you know what I mean. I'm 50% surprised, 50% not surprised. I'm not very eloquent right now. I'm apologizing for that. Um, I believe that Cloud9 is the best North American team. I think they proved it at Worlds. I think that I mean, no disrespect to TSM, they played a hell of a spring or a summer split playoffs, fully deserved that championship. I just believe that Cloud9 is a strategically superior team, and I personally believe that that's what wins out in League of Legends 9 times out of 10. Um, Not surprised in that sense. People want to see the best teams play. I mean, unicorns love being, I guess, the exception that proves the rule. I don't really, you know what like I said, unicorns love unique situation when it comes to them getting voted in. Cloud9, not that surprising. On the other hand, it is a little bit surprising because Curse has gotten a huge amount of hype because of Piglet, and I mean, if I didn't take the time to vote, and even as a CLG fan, I might have even voted for Curse just for the opportunity to see what that Piglet special bot lane is going to be like. Because I mean, if Piglet recaptures some of his form from earlier this year and late last year, then watch out, North America, because they could shake the balance of power for NA bot lanes. That and I mean that, like I said, that was the only thing that was surprising about the vote was that Curse didn't get in because of that hype. I'm glad to see Cloud9 in there. I'm really intrigued for this competition. I'm really excited that they're inviting. I'm pretty sure that they're inviting Brazilian and Latin American teams. I think I've personally predicted that All Stars this year is going to be somewhere in Brazil. I think it's one of the like the fastest growing, one of the fastest growing regions in League of Legends esports, and I've heard that their fans are insane. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with these teams that come up for IEM San Jose. And I hope, I personally, like I said, I predicted this, but I also very sincerely hope that Brazil is given the opportunity to show what they're about and host All Stars. Um, I am 26 minutes in, almost 27 minutes into this. I set myself a half an hour deadline for tonight. Some episodes of this will go longer, some will go shorter, so I'm going to cut it now. I'll table the expansion tournament for later until it's closer to actually happening. I want to thank my small but loyal reader base for supporting me for the past 6 or 7 months since I started blogging. I really enjoy writing, and I'm going to continue writing, guys. Don't worry. I just figured I would do this to provide more content because I like providing content for you guys, and I love talking about League of Legends esports. So I apologize for being not very eloquent at times. I apologize for the uhs and the buts and the likes and all the hallmarks of bad speaking. I promise I'll improve in the future, or at least attempt to. Yeah, that's about it for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't flame me too hard. Have a good night.